I thought I'd show you guys something I was doing. As you guys know, I was missing one knob on that radio. So I took one of the knobs off. Actually, I think the one I took off was the tuning knob. I can't read this one, but this was the other one that's on there. So there was two on there and one missing. So I took the one knob, cleaned it all up, and I'm trying to cast a new knob using it. So we're going to see how that turns out. Now, I've never done this before, but I figured I'd kind of show you guys what I did. So I bought this silicone rubber for mold making. I've got some stuff for releasing it, which is that, and then I've got some epoxy resin that I bought here. I've got some colorant here, epoxy, different colorants, so I can make the color close as I can. I mixed it up equal parts in this, and I've done poured it into a mold that I made. That's the mold I made. It's suspended. I got the 1/4-inch dowel in there to maintain the hole. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I won't know until tomorrow, because it takes like 6 or 8 hours for it to set up, and I'm not going to be back down here till tomorrow night, so it'll be set up by then. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that. I didn't show you mixing it up. It's like I had to start for like 5 minutes and all that. We're not sure how it's going to turn out, but I'll take a video when I get it out of the mold tomorrow. Maybe I'll bring it back when I'm mixing up the epoxy resin and with the colorant, what color it turns out being. So that's it for now. I just want to show you that, and I'll bring you back when I have something done mold. And this is my first attempt. It may take several attempts before I get something that's even usable, but I thought I'd show you this. Okay, so let me show you what I got. This was my mold, and it was my first attempt. I've demolded it, and as you can see right there in the center, I had a big air bubble, if you're seeing that. Right there where I push it with my finger. So I had an air bubble. Also, apparently I had an air bubble on one of these sides too. If you look in this side, you can see the little tab sticking in there. That's where the Allen screw goes. And that actually turned out really well. Anyway, let me show you what I got. So here it is. There's where the air bubble was. You can even see the word tuning in there, or that imprinted. But the air bubble is right there. Now, if you look at this edge, it actually turned out pretty good. Except right there, there's an air bubble. And there's my threaded hole for the set screw. As we throw, but then you get over here and we got a big section missing right here. Had a big air bubble right there. So for my first attempt, I was actually pretty happy with the way it turned out, and also the shade. However, it also is not as hard as I was anticipating it being, because I think because of that liquid, it's actually getting harder the longer. It's been about 30 hours right now, and it was originally kind of soft, but it's actually hardening up. So I might be able to go ahead and use that. But I went ahead and ordered some powdered colorant today that's supposed to be here tomorrow. And I just made a new mold, and I'll show you that here in a second. The one thing you'll notice that's different here is this sticker. Notice here how thin that is? I didn't want it to be that thin because I have to drill this. I'm going to drill the hole, which is just a straight 1/4-inch hole. So what I did was I had a plastic sleeve that was perfect diameter to stick on there, so I stuck that on there. I made sure it would fit within the hole in the radio cabinet, and it does. But I figure worst case scenario, I can always grind that down in my drill, spin it, and grind it down if I have to. But I think it's going to be fine. and then there's where the dowel was holding it. So I figure I'll, on the real one, I'll grind this flat. In fact, I might even do it on this one as just a sample to see how it's going to turn out. Grind that off there, drill this multiple sizes till I get to my 1/4 inch hole, and see what we get. But I probably could have grinded this off as well, but I decided to just recast it because the casting's obviously no good because I had the pocket for the hole here. So I've recast it, but if you look at the colors, other than the dirt, it's not bad. It's pretty good actually. So we'll see how this new mold turns out. I made the first one using this little short pill bottle. I did a similar situation this time, which is it here. But what I did was I used a little bit wider, a little bit deeper and thicker, and then I left my knob a little bit higher, and as I was pouring the silicone in here, I was tipping it on its side as much as I possibly could in case any air bubbles were getting trapped, because this has got a little bit of a dome here. If you can see, it's like a dome. So what happened when it was setting flat was the bubbles, as they released from the silicone, were getting trapped in there. Now this time around I did something a little bit different. Once I got my silicone all stirred together, I set the thing down in my ultrasonic cleaner for 5 minutes to let the ultrasonic waves try and knock as much air bubbles out of it as possible. And the other thing I did, I was watching a YouTube video that said pour your silicone from quite a height so you get a fine stream, and that'll break the bubbles up. So I did that as well as I put some in there before I had a whole lot in there, just enough to cover the bottom, and I tipped it up and tilted it around and rolled it around, so I'm hoping that there's no air bubbles trapped in it. We won't know till we pour the actual resin in there, which will probably be tomorrow evening, because this is supposed to set like 20 hours. So by tomorrow evening it should be ready for me to pour some more resin, and I should also get my powdered resin, and I'll try and get that mixed up to be close as far as color. But I gotta tell you, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that color. I don't know how well it's going to come through on the camera, but if let's put it like this, had that not been like that, I probably would have grinded that off and used it. And one of the original knobs is actually cracked. This isn't the one, it's the one that I actually put the thing on, so I'll probably cast 2 of them. Anyway, I'd show you that. We'll see how the round 2 goes. That was round 1. I'm pretty happy with round 1. It wasn't good enough to use, but it turned out well. Alright guys, so I got the newest mold done. I guess we're going to try and get it unmolded here. And see if we can do this. I did it in this one, so I figured I could. On the other one, I had cut the bottom out and I had to glue it to a cardboard base. On this one, I didn't do that because I figured I could just screw the bottom off. At least that's the plan. That was the plan at the time that I did it. That I thought kind of made sense, but we shall see how it goes if it unscrews. I've got spray in there that's supposed to make the silicone release. It looks like it released. So positive thing is, before I could see the air bubble, this one I don't see an air bubble, so I'm assuming there is no air bubble. So that's a good thing. I may have to cut the plastic away from it. Let's just do that. I don't want to hurt my mold. I'd rather hurt the piece here, but not my mold. So that's where I was pouring down around the edge so it could like slide down in there. Trim some of that off there. There we go. It don't have to be perfect. I'm just getting some of the rugged edge off there so I can see what I'm doing better. Alright. Now it's a ways down in there. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to start cutting this. I'm going to kind of cut it at an angle so that when I close it back up, it will try and key it to an extent. We've got to spread it. And carefully cut this so don't screw the mold up. Alright, let's see if we can get this out. There we go. That piece came out. That one down there, not so much. I don't think it's cut all the way right here yet. Get this out of here. Come on. There we go. And then the last little piece is for the threads for the set screw. There it goes. Okay. Now, how those piece together when they go back in there could be iffy. But the good news is I do see a small air bubble down there. Not a huge air bubble, but I should be able to file that off. The question is going to be is if everything goes together well. Alright, and I can pull my shaft out there. There we go. Alright, so that's the original. Now, I'll go get a rubber band so we can put the mold back together. Okay, so from what I understand, you don't want your mold to be too tight. You want to make sure it just goes back the way it was. And so what I've read is you just take some rubber bands and adjust the size of the rubber band so it's not really squeezing it. They're just there for support. And it should form back to its original shape without being distorted. So that's kind of what I've done here. And that's what I'm going to try and use. Alright, so now I got to mix up the actual resin. Let me get that. So on the first one, I used some liquid epoxy resin colorant. And so there's different colors. And for that first knob, I used this coffee one. And I think I used like 4 drops. I didn't like the way it set up. And after reading the instructions on the epoxy, it said that you're not supposed to use liquid. You're supposed to use powder. Now, since I showed you that knob, it has set up harder. It just took longer. So it probably would have been okay. But since I thought that I had the wrong stuff, I went ahead and ordered some mica powders. And that's what we have right here in this one. This was a set of browns, black, and grays. And it's a sampler kit. But I'm going to go with the darkest brown and probably throw a little black in with it. And see what we get. So I think I'm going to use this Kendo brown and throw a little bit of black in with it. Yoru black. So Yoru black and Kendo brown and see what we get. Okay, so this is the resin I'm using called T-Expert or TE Expert. Just epoxy resin, part A and part B. I'm going to mix it in a little mixing cup here. Now when I did the first knob, I basically did 10 milliliters of the one and 10 milliliters of the other for 20 milliliters, and it was enough for the knob, and I had that much left over. So that's what I'm going to do again, because this time this mold's a little bit bigger as far as the shaft coming up, and I'm going to go ahead and it'll probably take most of it. So I'm going to pour this in here, and we'll start stirring it. I'm going to do part A, 10 milliliters. I'm going to do part B. I'm going to put my gloves on here, and I got to get down. I should be weighing this by weight, but I don't have a scale for that, so I got to eyeball it. So I got to get my light, and I got to get down where I can see it. So I'm going to get it poured and get the resins going. And get my timer going, and then I'll bring you back when I'm stirring and when I pour. Okay, so I'm kind of guessing at how much of this powder to stick in here. This is the brown. That's the brown. I'm going to throw a little bit of black in there because I don't think that's going to be dark enough. But I got to be a little iffier with this black because it'll probably make it really black. Alright, go with that and stir it, start stirring and see what it looks like. I've got a little timer going here on my phone, and we're going to go for like 4 minutes. The instructions said 3, 2, 5. We may go the full 5, I'm not sure. Okay, so I've stirred that for about 5 minutes, and I've been having it sit here for about 4 minutes, letting the bubbles rise. So I'm ready to pour this, and I watched something where it talked about pouring from a distance so that any other air bubbles that are trapped can get broken up. Now what I'm planning on doing is pouring some in there, tipping it around, and try and roll it around a little bit inside there to hopefully try and fill the cavity a little bit better than maybe I did the other day. A little bit slower. That was a pretty good batch there. This one may very well have a bubble on it as well, but it's not going to be nearly as big because I could see that other bubble before I even poured my epoxy in there. I knew I had a bubble, but yeah, I got a bubble. Nothing I can do about it. Alright, that's got to sit for about 24 hours, so whether or not it turns out, we'll find out when we take it apart. Alright guys, it's been 24 hours since I poured this. Let's go ahead and take this thing out and see what we got. Get our rubber bands off of here. Find the area where my split is, right there. Oh man, we still got the same issue. Still got the same issue with half of it being gone. Color looks perfect. Got the one little booger there that I can get off of it. From this side, the color looks perfect, but we're missing that whole half right there. Right on the side where the set screw is, which again turned out perfect. Just that one whole section right there. And this is on the opposite side of where it was on the last one. You know, once it's in place on the radio, you probably wouldn't see that. Isn't that a shame? That really is really a shame. Not quite understanding. I had to almost been air bubble. Big air bubble. Okay, I thought I'd show you guys that I got my 110 volt LED light bulb in finally, and I've got it mounted in here, got the wiring run to it. It's clearing everything as far as dial string, etc. So let me back you off a little bit and I will flip it on for you. Going through my electronic circuit breaker. Comes on instant obviously because 110 hooked up right to the switch. And I got the Bluetooth all hooked up. Right now it's on AM.
Pretty much in agreement on these 7. You know, I'd say among the voters and among the base, everyone's in agreement. You know, everyone, especially on the conservative side, obviously everyone agrees that we need to secure America's borders and reduce crime, counter the threat of communist
crime. Turn it on to
a lot of these issues are actually shared
Bluetooth.
broadly.
Yeah, find something on my phone here first. Yeah, I have on some royalty-free music here.
Look at the polling, believe that.
All right, turn on Bluetooth. This is my royalty-free music that I've got here. There's a different one. Guess that was the ad. So that's it. That's the Minerva model 729 PortaPal. Chassis completely finished. I guess I need to show you it completed now in the cabinet. I've been keeping it a secret up till now. So I guess I'll do that. Next part will be the reveal. Stay tuned. And so we come to the reveal. And I hear moose in the background, but that's fine. We're up in the kitchen. I've got the 1947 Minerva Model 729 PortaPal on the table, and I'm ready to reveal it. However, keep in mind, if you look at the earlier videos, this is a Greg's Vintage Workshop reveal, and so this particular Minerva is not going to be anything like it was before. So if you're a purist, you might want to stop watching right now. But for the rest of you guys, without further ado, here's the reveal. So let's take a closer look. There's the back. I'm not very good camera operator here. I need to get a new camera operator. And there's the front. And the side. Along with the Bluetooth. Which the Bluetooth will pivot down like that and be closer to the table. I have it like that so you can see that it's connected. The top. So I don't know about anybody else, but I think that the 1947 Minerva Greg's Vintage Workshop style is better than the original. Back out a little bit. And we will play it. Actually, I'm going to zoom in and let you guys see what I did down by the dials. That is my new knob for the Bluetooth and AM that I casted. The on, off, and volume, and then the dial tuning. Look at the knobs a little closer. You can see they're pretty good match. I've got the dot on that one, which, if you guys remember, was an air bubble, but I decided to play it as designed. That's what I like to do with mistakes sometimes, is play them as designed. Let's back out. Alright, so it's been warming up. It's on AM right now.
All throughout the COVID mandate, you know, in the COVID recovery that we're now finding ourselves in, and we need to focus on this problem and take it serious so that we can come out of this situation at a little bit more rapid pace.
So those are stunning numbers, I must say, Chris, and it's a good reminder of just how big this business is and how critical it is for the economy.
And now we'll put it on
But
Bluetooth.
you missed the short file. Can you put it?
Of course, I'm playing some royalty-free music so I don't get dinged. I got dinged on the last video of this with copyright. See if I can find a different song we can play on here. This is, I'm on right now. I know it will play. I think Doug has got one out here.
Coming up on today's episode.
For those you hear in the background, that's my wash machine.
Good evening, YouTube. Here with you on a Thursday evening. It is 7:42 now, as you can see there on the clock in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Here with this evening to go over some problems I'm having and see if anybody can help me with this.
And there we go. So the Bluetooth's working beautifully, AM's working beautifully. Now I'll shut the lights off and you guys can see my new dial light. There we go. Dial light working fine. And very happy. As Doug would say, happy, very happy. So this is going to conclude the 1947 Minerva PortaPal Model 729. I thank you for watching Greg's Vintage Workshop.